Welcome back to Al Jazeera America. I'm John Siegenthaler in New York. If you're just joining us, we want to update you on our breaking story tonight from West Virginia. Authorities say a chemical used in processing coal leaked from a factory along the Elk River. The governor has declared a state of emergency in and around Charleston, West Virginia, the capital, the largest city in that state. At least 9 counties are affected. Health officials are advising people not to drink, not to bathe or cook with the water. Dave Boucher is the Capitol Bureau Chief for the Charleston Daily Mail, and he joins us again live on the telephone. What else are you learning, Dave?
You know, we've heard reports, obviously, that stores have been selling out of water very quickly. We heard a local Sam's Club went through 4,200 cases of water within an hour and a half. And actually, the state attorney general just recently put out a statement saying that they've heard reports of price gouging going on at certain stores. West Virginia law says that you're only allowed to raise the prices of commodities up to 10% in the state of emergency. They've heard that there's been some sorts of price gouging going above that. So obviously, he's asking people to call in when they hear about these reports.
So it sounds like this happened this afternoon. Is that right? And what do we know about how it leaked?
So actually, the first reports of something wrong came up as early as 10 o'clock this morning. And oddly enough, the first indication was people reported a smell of licorice in the air. And so after there was this report of licorice smell or odor in the air, and officials started to investigate. And eventually, in mid-afternoon, they announced, local community officials announced that there had been a leak of this product. And so what we know so far is that about 2,000 to 5,000 gallons of this chemical leaked out of an internal barrier of a large holding tank, and then an unknown amount of that 2,000 to 5,000 gallons made it through a secondary container, seeped into the ground, and made its way into the river. Now, we're not sure if there was a hole in the container or if something else went wrong. I've been told that the facility was old, but that's those are all the details we have at this point.
So the facility is close to the Elk River, and you know we're looking at some pictures. I'm just assuming that are of the Elk River. Is it a recreation? It looks like a beautiful river, recreational area as well.
Sure. You know, in the summertime, you'll see boaters, you'll see people on the river. However, you know, for decades, actually, this area has been known as the Chemical Valley. There have been there's plenty of chemical facilities, especially in the past, that have called, you know, the Kanawha Valley home. So this is people have heard of chemical leaks before, and people have heard of spills before in the area.
So you got supposedly 300,000 people who may be impacted without water. What are we hearing about tomorrow?
So actually, the latest estimates are saying the area has increased, but the latest number of people that we heard affected was at least 100,000 people in this area. The last that we heard from the National Guard, they're sending in truckloads. We're trying to work on the numbers. Some people are saying 50 truckloads of water. Some people are saying 75 truckloads of water. But most of the water, bottled water, is supposed to arrive in Charleston Friday afternoon. Local county officials are establishing locations where citizens can go and pick up water now, or can try and get some fresh water at this point, because small sections of local community municipal water sources have not been contaminated. So, but at this point, there was just a statement from a spokesperson for the water company. They say that no timeline has been released yet, and they can't update when exactly this state of emergency can be lifted. So it's kind of a wait and see sort of scenario at this point.
All right, Dave Boucher with the Charleston Daily Mail has been providing us with some terrific information. Dave, thank you very much. And
my pleasure.
For more on the concerns about the water supply, soil, and more, let's bring in Techno's Marita Davidson, an environmental scientist in Seattle. And Marita, we're hearing about the effect on the community, but what effects can we expect on the environment?
You know, John, initially my reaction is that there's 2 major concerns right off the bat. The first is, where is this chemical going, both from a physical and a biological standpoint? And the second is, how difficult will it be to contain and remove the chemical from the environment? So in terms of where it's going, you know, we need to know where it's going, if it's going down how far it's going downstream, how much it has spread throughout the watershed, and then how is it being taken up by the different organisms, both inside the river and the watershed system, and those organisms that are on the terrestrial side but depend on those aquatic systems for their survival. And then in terms of the containment and cleanup, all of that's going to depend on how much it's really permeated throughout the system, and whether or not we have a fast and speedy effort to contain and clean up the spill.
You probably heard Dave Boucher report that he had heard that the chemical went into the ground and then leached into the river. We're talking 2,000 to 5,000 gallons of this chemical. Does that tell us any more about the damage that the chemical can cause to the environment?
Well, you know, I don't know much about this particular chemical, so I can't speak to that specifically. But if it has really permeated down into the water table, that can be a major concern from an environmental standpoint, because those sources of water are very long-lived. It takes a lot of time for them to cycle up, sometimes to the terrestrial or up to the surface, and it takes a lot of time for those to cycle through the entire water cycle. So that could be actually a very major concern.
All right, Marita Davidson. Marita, thank you very much. And